Oh my goodness, Vanda, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I think this is one of those episodes I've been looking forward to, and I can't wait to see where this takes us today. But before we jump into all the good stuff, why don't I hand over to you so you can quickly introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what you do?
Hello, and thank you very much for having me. I am just as excited about today's conversation 'cause as we said, we always have lovely conversations. So hopefully this will be one of those as well. So very exciting indeed. So I'm Vanda, and I am a tour guide to your mind. So I help you explore, uncover, and remap your map of the world. So the way how you think, how you feel, how you communicate, how you experience the world altogether. So then you can navigate in your thoughts and in your feelings with a bit more clarity, confidence, and perhaps a bit of ease. Who wouldn't want that?
Oh my goodness. And I'm sure as everybody is listening to that, like, yes, please, where do we start? Get us going. Start talking, ladies. Before we go into all of that, because I know that there's a good conversation we're going to have in particular about imposter syndrome, and we'll dive into that a lot more. But tell us a little bit about your story, because obviously you're a master, an NLP master practitioner and a trainer.
That's right.
But obviously, you didn't just wake up one day and go, yeah, this is the one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go and start a business in this direction. What is your story? How did you get started in business?
So I never actually thought that I would ever become a business owner. Just to answer that bit.
Even more better.
Exactly. And actually, I just celebrated 5 years in business, something like that in March. So,
Amazing. Well
yes,
done.
exactly. Well, I never thought that I would ever get here. My background is in neurorehabilitation. I always worked for charities, if you like. And well, neurorehabilitation, a conductor, a neurorehabilitation specialist. So I'm specialized in working with people with Parkinson's, stroke, MS, head injury, cerebral palsy, all those weird and wonderful neurological conditions that happen somewhere in your brain or along your spine and has a physical implementation on your body. And I loved it. I absolutely loved being a conductor. I thought that that was my purpose. This is why I was born to this planet, and this is what I had to do. And I loved it so much that I kept ignoring my body telling me that maybe I don't love it that much. And I had a long-standing back problem, but I just kept going, kept brushing it under the carpet, saying, you know what, mind over body, I'm very young, I can do this, I can do whatever I want. So then this back problem just kept coming back and kept coming back. Basically, my subconscious was telling me that I needed to do something slightly different. But I was ignoring it, as we do, until it got to a point where it was shouting at me so loud, and I still wasn't listening, that it had to make sure that I was listening, and it put me to bed with a slip disc. In 2018, I think it was the first time it happened. And this is when I had to stop and I had to think what I was gonna do with my life. Was I gonna go back there? That's giving me these serious issues. And as much as I loved it and I felt it really purposeful and impactful, my two main values, I knew that if I went back there and did everything the way how I used to, I would end up in a wheelchair. And I wasn't going to do that. So the other choice was to actually start looking for something that I could transfer my field of expertise into, which is the brain. I've always been exploring the brain in my all of my adult life, really, and how it can rewire itself. So neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. And if it can rewire itself, why wouldn't we do it intentionally? So I started thinking, and after a sufficient amount of pity party, because we need that as well, don't we? We need to feel sorry for ourselves a bit so then we can come out on the other side. This is when I found NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is all based on neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself, which is absolutely wonderful. Why wouldn't we do it intentionally if it's already doing it anyways? So it felt like a match made in heaven. And it really was. The physical strain was taken out, but I still got to help people.
Yeah.
I still got to be there for others and help them rewire their brain. And this is how I started. I first just started bringing NLP and then hypnotherapy and then coaching and all sort of things into my neuro rehab world, helping those people with the conditions as well as their carers. because those are the people who are very much overlooked with all the anger, sadness, fear, guilt, jealousy, resentment, and they need some support as well. So I was supporting these groups of people. And again, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But there came a point when I said that I need to put a stop to that part of my life and venture out on my own and see where it takes me. And here I am. I then became a master practitioner, I became an NLP trainer, and now I spread the magic to as many people as I can.
I know. And I love that story. In so many ways, unfortunately, you had the slip disc, which kind of brought you to a standstill. But I think sometimes the universe do throw us in a tight spot in order to go like, hey, you need to listen now. You didn't get the cues before. So we're really, really making it clear now this time around. And I think in more ways than one, a lot of people can resonate with what it is that you're saying, where they were just going and going and going up until that point where they're just bedridden for some reason or another, and then realizing, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Where am I going with this? This is so unhealthy for me.
But then it's so difficult to make that decision, isn't it? And it's all about the investment that we put into our previous life, if you like, or our life until that point. And that is the investment that psychologically we do not want to let go of. Yeah. And that's what I was battling with as well, is that, okay, if I change fields, what on earth is going to happen? Am I going to start from scratch and try and build it up? I've got 20 years in that field, a lot of investment, a lot of studying, a lot of experience, a lot of clients, participants I worked with. Is that all going to disappear? And this is when you need to change your mindset, because no, that's absolutely not going to disappear. That's going to give me the foundations for what I'm doing now, because all those skills are transferable. Yes. And that's what people forget, is that investment is coming with us. All the investment you put into your life will come with you to the next stage, whatever that next stage might be. You just need to choose to see it.
Exactly. And I think this leads beautifully in what we're going to talk about today, which is the imposter syndrome. And I know for a lot of people in the audience, you ladies might be listening to this and going, right, I am at that crossroads in my life right now where I feel I need to make a change. And imposter syndrome kicks in. You've got no clue what it is that you want to do. You don't know, where you're going to go. And most likely, just like Vanda said, you're thinking, but is all of this part experience that I've got in my life thus far for nothing? That's not the case. And then for so many of you, you're sitting here, you're already running a business, but you want to go further. And yet again, you're not quite sure where to go. Imposter syndrome kicks in. You're not quite sure if you're worth it, if it is something that, you've got the skill set for, or whatever that might be. And there's so many different layers of imposter syndrome. So this is my question to you, Vanda. I think we've all heard the term imposter syndrome, and on different levels, as I've just said, we all have our own understanding of it. But tell us a little bit, what is imposter syndrome and who does it really affect?
Okay, so you will hear me not calling it imposter syndrome.
Oh, even better. What do you call it then? I love this.
Exactly. I call it imposter thoughts and feelings. And I'm going to explain to you why in a moment. But let's see what imposter syndrome actually is. So it is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, their talents, their accomplishments, everything that they've accomplished throughout their lives. They have this internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud, like they don't know what they are talking about. When you start thinking then, oh, who am I to do this? Am I good enough? Do I actually know what I'm doing? I should be able to do everything all by myself. And of course, I need to do it 100% and it needs to be perfect. If I don't, I am just a failure. And sooner or later, everybody's going to find me out because I am a fraud, right? So if you ever had these sort of thoughts and feelings that you have experienced, then you have experienced imposter thoughts and feelings. But it does not have to turn into a big syndrome as such.
Okay, I like that.
So study shows that about 70% of the population has had imposter thoughts and feelings throughout their lives. Yeah, it happens every single time we start learning something new. And for that, can I introduce? I mean, I'm sure you do know, but I don't know if the listeners know about. I think it was Martin Broadwell in 1969 who developed the idea of the 4 stages of competence.
Yes.
Yeah. So those 4 stages are: we start with being unconsciously incompetent. So if we use a different example, not business, but let's say learning a language, or learning how to ride a bike, or how to tie your shoelaces. Something very simple, right? So first of all, when you are unconsciously competent, you don't even know those languages out there. You don't even know bikes exist. It's just not in your field of vision. You haven't experienced that before. Perhaps you've always worn shoes with Velcros, never one with laces, so you don't know that there is something to learn. And then you get to the next stage, which is when you are consciously incompetent. So you started learning about the world and started seeing that there are other languages out there. There is a bike in the corner, but I don't know how to ride it. Oh yeah, there is a shoelace. I mean, there is a shoe with shoelaces. How does that work, right? And then there is the next stage when you start learning this stuff. You start learning how to do that, how to speak that language, how to bring the grammar together and put one word after the other and form sentences. And that's your stage of conscious competence, right? So you know what you are talking about, but you need to think about it.
Yeah.
There is a big gap between those 2 stages. And then there is the 4th stage when you are unconsciously competent. You don't have to think about it. You just do it. This is when you hop on the bike and you ride away. You don't think about your balance or pedaling or holding anything. This is when you start dreaming in that language. Yeah. So you don't even think about it. It happens. So what happened there is that when they set up this theory, they started noticing that there is a huge gap between consciously incompetent and consciously competent, right? A huge, huge gap. And those have many, many different stages of learning. And that's the part when we get confused. But as adults, we are told that we should not be confused, because if you are confused, you are very incompetent, you are a fraud, you are a failure, you don't know what you're doing. When in reality, when you think about it, when we were children, every time we were confused, we started asking questions. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? What is this? Mommy, tell me. Daddy, tell me. And this is when we were soaking up the information. This is how our map of the world formed. But then as adults, as we come up adults, society trains ourselves out of allowing ourselves to be confused. When in NLP, we actually say that confusion as a learning state is the best learning state you could ever have. Now, Martin Broadwell and his team decided to call this gap between those 2 stages, when we are learning, the imposter syndrome stage. So all it means is that you are learning something new, that all those things that you've known so far have got up in the air, and then as you are confused, going through this fog of confusion, things start to fall into place. And perhaps it will be a different place. Some things might fall into the bin, and then new things will appear. So you're learning something new. And after confusion comes the breakthrough. Yeah.
I really like that.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It is, but it explains it so much better. And I think what I like about what you're explaining here is we see so many professionals, gurus out there constantly, especially on social media. Oh my gosh, you get it everywhere, talking about imposter syndrome, but nobody explains it. We all just hang this tag around our necks going, yeah, I've got imposter syndrome. Don't know why, but I've got it. Don't know what it means, but I've got it. Or I just decided to give it to myself because this is how I'm feeling. But I love your explanation, because I think now from that clarity perspective, we can all go, so it is not so bad.
It's not so bad at all. And you know how much I love my analogies. Can I share one with you?
Please do. This is a great conversation.
Oh, very good. So this is what I call your marbles and elephants.
Oh, okay.
I know, you will see why. So every thought, every feeling, every behavior has a positive intention behind it for you as a person. It will normally have a protective function, or it will want you to do well, have the best life that you can. When it's a little marble. So even negatively labeled thoughts and feelings like anger, sadness, fear, guilt, jealousy, when it's a little marble, where it's a healthy amount, it's actually really good for you. I mean, just think about it. If we never had fear as a human being, what would happen?
Yeah, well, we wouldn't exist anymore.
We would walk off at the edge of the cliff and all die. We would be gone. If we didn't have any guilt, not even a little marble, we would commit crimes left, right, and center, wouldn't we? We wouldn't have a moral compass. So we need a little bit of every single one of those. It will be the same with your inner chatter, with your inner self-talk. We need a bit of that negative self-talk, the one that asks the questions. Am I good enough? Do I know what I'm doing? Am I cut out for this job or for running a business? Of course you are, but you just need to answer those questions. I'm going to get back to that in a moment. But what I mean is that when we have a healthy amount, a little marble of all those questions and thoughts, it's absolutely beautiful. We need it. That will drive us forward, right? The problem starts when we have a little marble and we start wrapping it around with all those stories. Oh, I'm really not good enough. And that person looked at me funny, so that means I can't run a business. And when I compare myself to someone who has been in business for 10 years and I've only been there for 2, my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing. And you keep wrapping that little marble around those stories that you're telling yourself. And this is when it grows into this huge elephant of imposter syndrome that then sits on you and stops you from breathing. Yeah. It doesn't start like an elephant. It doesn't start like a syndrome. It starts with a little thought. It starts with a little feeling. Am I good enough? Well, we all experience this, don't we? Every time you start doing something new in your life, it doesn't have to be a business. Yeah. When you go to school and you start questioning, am I qualified to be here? When you finish school and you start your first job, oh my goodness, everybody else knows what they are doing. And the more you learn about it, the more confused you get. Until a point when you get into the conscious competence or unconscious competence stage. When you become a parent, it can be for humans or dogs, cats, doesn't matter. This is something new. You are learning something new. Of course, you're going to be confused. Of course, you're going to question whether you are good enough. But do we need to give in? Do we need to give in to those thoughts, to those feelings, so then the marble grows into this elephant? Or can we just answer the questions the marble brings to us to keep us safe, to make sure that we are okay, that we are doing our best, that we are running the business the way how we want to? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because as you were talking, I had this thought of, not personally just for me, but on so many levels as a business owner. I think we all have these ideas of like, oh my gosh, I would love to do this as a project in my business, or I've got this great idea and I'd love to do it. Marble kicks in, where we go like, ooh, can I do it? I've never done anything like this before. This is freaking me out a little bit, but I'm excited. But then, like you say, it gets wrapped around all these other thoughts. And I guess this is also that kind of thing long term.
It's that.
Where it just gets to this bigger and bigger and bigger elephant, where you just go like, there's no way I'm going to do that. That idea, forget about it. It's too big for me. I am not ready for it.
And then the world will be deprived of your talent and your magic. Those people who are out there waiting for you to put that thing out because this is exactly what they need, they will never get it because you allowed your inner chatter to take the best of you.
Yeah.
And then what happens there? Let's just look at it as a cycle, the long-term effect of how it grows into imposter syndrome, how this elephant happens. So first, let's say you do something right. Mm-hmm. And then you get praised for it. Yeah, 99% of what you did was amazing. There is that 1%, but 99% is amazing. So you get praised for it. But then you start, your inner chatter starts, is it actually true? Oh, they are just pitying me. It's just sympathy feedback. I was lucky. I was at the good place at the right time. Yeah. So you start feeling like a fraud. And then you start questioning that 1%. Oh my goodness, I didn't do that right. I didn't know what I was doing here. And that was, oh my goodness. And then that goes into this huge elephant. You forget about the 99%. You already put that
Yes.
down to pity. Yeah. And people are being nice. People are not that nice, actually. And then you keep beating yourself up over the 1%. So then what happens next is you do something else with this in your mind, the elephant growing already, and then you do something brilliantly, 99%. Very good. There is still the 1%. And then you get praised for it. Guess what happens? You start talking badly to yourself because of that 1% and because, oh no, that person was just really nice. But, or I heard what they said, but their facial expression is not what they actually meant. Yeah. So you get into this cycle that grows the elephant. And this is when you start feeling like a fraud because you talk yourself into feeling like the fraud. You dismiss all the positive feedback that you are getting and only focusing on the negative. Now, when originally it is a little marble, and it is good to question ourselves, to drive ourselves forward and make sure that we do our best. If we don't see the positives as well, but only focus on the negatives, what happens long term when it grows into this imposter syndrome is that we are going to suffer from a lot of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, depression, physical symptoms, ultimately burnout. And that's when we leave our businesses.
I love that. Oh my gosh, it makes it so clear. But I think also with what it is that you're saying, with this information you're sharing with us today, when you have that great idea, you've got this project. Yes, understand that you're going to have a little marble popping up, but it's a good, healthy marble. But also then to look at things from that perspective. So this is where I think the next question comes in. How can we prevent this little marble then to grow into this elephant where we start talking ourselves out of taking a next step, or, you know, having it progress that far where we get to overwhelm, burnout, anxiousness, all of those things. So how do we prevent this?
Oh, there are so many ways, so many things that we
I
can
knew
do.
you were going to say that.
So I'm going to share with you my go-to that I share with my clients and what we work on. Obviously, I'm going to give you the nutshell version of it. First of all, we need to have a look at our inner chatter, don't we?
Yeah.
And what it's telling us. And we need to acknowledge that we both have, or we all have both sides. We have negative self-talk, negatively labeled. Again, is it really negative? And we have a positive self-talk as well. And once you explore it, you start understanding that it does have a reason for being there. Both sides, right? And when you're negatively labeled self-talk, you explore what the positive intention behind it is, what it actually wants for you, then it becomes sort of a friend. Yeah. Equally, you need to explore the other side as well, because there are so many people out there who are suggesting to you to name your negative self-talk, to call it negative Nancy or whatever you want, and just ignore it and tell it to go away. Well, while it's a great advice, it's not actually quite how it works. Because if you keep ignoring those warning signs, it's going to keep coming back louder and louder, because the prime directive of your subconscious mind is to serve you, to protect you, to preserve your body, your mind, and your soul. If you don't listen, if you don't acknowledge, it's going to keep coming back louder, louder, and louder. And then we're going to give in, because that elephant is going to grow, right?
Yes.
So yes, you can name it. Absolutely. I encourage you to have a chat with yourself all the time. So it's about listening to yourself, but equally talking back too. Now, you can't talk back if you don't have the other side. If you haven't developed the positive self-talk, not toxic positivity, not this fake, oh, I'm just going to put a positivity plaster over that and everything is candies and rainbows. That does not work either. Yeah. We need to bring it down to earth, and we need to get the two of them to talk to each other so they can work for you in harmony. It's sort of your yin and yang, isn't it? There isn't, you can't have one or the other. You can't just have black
True.
or white. You need to have both, and you need to have a little bit of black in the white and a little bit of white in the black. That's how you bring the two together. You need to develop both. Otherwise, if you just tell it to go away, there will be a huge gap. And if there isn't anything else developed, that is going to sneak back in to fill up that gap, because that's your only way knowing how to talk to yourself, right? So that's one. That's number one. We need to look at the self-talk and what is actually happening there, turning your worst enemy into your best friend because you understand what's going on, right? But after that, let's develop this side. We need to keep thinking about all the positives that are happening in our lives, everything that we've achieved, all our skills, transferable skills, may I add, everything that we've accomplished, all our amazing personality traits, everything that people are talking or saying about us, all the positive feedback we are getting. Because what we are really, really good at as human beings and as ladies is to look at everything in front of us that we haven't learned yet. And there is this ocean of different things that we haven't learned. And we will only learn a little drop of it because it's just too much for one human being, right? That's for the whole world. But we are very good at looking at that. And then we feel this teeny tiny, don't we? Because we have not acknowledged everything else that's behind us already. So we need to turn around and we need to think about what we've already achieved. Yes. And that's when you're going to find that it's not just little drops. It's actually a pond, a lake, a whole sea already. That's your own. If you don't acknowledge that, then what you are trying to do is build your castle on quicksand with some water running underneath it. There is no foundation for what you are trying to build. But once you acknowledge all this, that gives you that solid foundation of confidence. So then you can build your castle brick by brick, and it's going to be steady. It's going to stand.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love listening to you. And like I said, I knew there was going to be a good conversation already from the start. But at the same time, it makes so much sense. And I think this is also the thing. We all need that clarity. We all need to understand what is going on within ourselves. But on so many occasions, me included, I still do this, we ignore it. And we just go, if I just push that to the side and focus here and concentrate here, I don't have to think about it. I can just be here, even if it's just for a moment. But the more you suppress it, the louder it will start screaming at you.
That's right. And it's not just you. It's not just the listeners.
Oh, I know.
It's me too.
It's everybody.
All do it. And all it means is that we are human beings and not robots. We all fall back into being at the effect of all these things that are happening to us, whether it's external or it's happening in your head. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. It's okay to feel, I don't know, sad or angry or guilty or not good enough for a little while. It's all about them making a decision that, you know what, I had my pity party. Now I want to come out on the other side. So while I've been ignoring all that, I'm going to make a change now. I'm going to bring myself back to being at cause, being at the center of everything that's happening to me, and take charge of what I can. Not everything. Yes. Obviously, you can't. Not the external factors. But you can absolutely take charge, take control of how you react or respond to the situation that's happening to you, whether it's in here or externally. Take charge of that. Start asking questions like, okay, so what can I do to make it work? How can I make a difference? Where do I have influence? When can I take the next step? Whatever those questions are, instead of saying, oh, why am I thinking this way? Why me? Why me? Mm-hmm. Let's come back here. Let's take action. Let's take, responsibility for our own actions, thoughts, and feelings.
Yeah, because only you can.
Exactly. And you see, this is what I love about NLP, because everything that we do in NLP is about bringing you back from being at the effect of the things that are happening to you into being at cause, because your life starts and finishes with you, what you do, how you respond to things, and all the rest. And what NLP helps you to do is bring you back here, because this is your place of personal empowerment.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit just about NLP, if you don't mind me asking, because I know so many people have heard the abbreviation. You mentioned before what it stands for, but I don't think everybody quite understands what it does or how it works. Can you just give us a quick synopsis of NLP, basically, if I may be so bold to ask that question?
How long have you got? This is the question. Now I'm gonna try and give you a really a concise version. So, as individuals, we all perceive the world in many different ways. Yeah, we all go through different life experiences. We build different memories. We have different surroundings, different values, different beliefs. So, and we see the world through very different lenses or filters, if you like. So that experience, how you experience the world, will be very unique to you, will be very individual and differently structured. And NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is the study of that structure of how you see the world, and also the study of excellence. So how can you make things even better? How can you become the best version of yourself? Yeah. Now, when it comes to the acronym NLP, again, for you to be able to experience the world, you need three main components. You need a mind, yeah, something to perceive all that information with that is coming in from the outside world. That's the neural part. You also need a language to be able to translate what is happening and be able to communicate that to others as well as to yourself. And then you need that connection, the programming part, those patterns that you are running, your habits. Yeah, you need that part as well, so you can create that connection between your mind, your body, and the language that you are using. So that's neuro-linguistic programming. Does that help?
That helps immensely, because I know so many people just from the introduction go like, NLP, I've never heard of it. What does it mean? So possibly Googling a little bit there. But I thought it's just interesting for somebody to actually explain a little bit about NLP, and especially because you're a master practitioner and a trainer, you know about it. So I just wanted to bring that in here as well, because I think at the end of the day, there's so many different tools out there that can help us. But at the end of the day, we are all different, and we will all gravitate towards what we feel we need help with.
Exactly.
But the most important thing that I think we've all learned today is that it isn't imposter syndrome unless you build that elephant.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, Wanda, I love this conversation. Thank you so, so much for just diving into this and just helping us understand a little bit more that, you know, there's so much more to imposter. And if we can understand it from that level, think about the marble, the elephant. It made so much sense to me. And honestly, my brain is just racking at the moment. It's going mental. But before we say goodbye, obviously, you have got an amazing complimentary Mind MOT available for everybody. Just tell us a little bit about what they can expect from this complimentary Mind MOT. There's so many M's in there. What is it that they can expect? And then I'll make sure to put the link in the show notes.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, it is what it says. It is a Mind MOT, just like we have for our cars every single year. We need to check what is working and what isn't. And then the service comes afterwards, doesn't it? So my Mind MOTs are 30 minutes, absolutely complimentary, no obligation. It's basically a chat, or essentially a chat, where we explore what is working in your life and in your mind and what perhaps needs a bit of attention. Whether it is going to lead into us working together in one-to-one sessions to help you with your mental fitness and your personal growth, or it's about the NLP course, I'm happy to discuss either. And if I am the right person for you, I am absolutely here, and I'm very, very ready to help whoever comes my way if we are the right match. And if we are not, I've got a very wide range of network with all sorts of professionals, and I'm very happy to help you find the right practitioner for you. Because that's one of the biggest things, isn't it? Is finding the right person, as you said, whatever feels right. And if it's not me, that's okay. At least I facilitated you getting the help that you need. So that 30 minutes consultation is absolutely there for everybody, whoever would like to take part.
Amazing. And thank you so much for making that available to everybody. Because like we said, there's so much that we don't know. And yet we look at this mountain of stuff that we want to learn, and it makes us feel like they're small, but it doesn't have to be. You just need to start going through that process and discover really what is aligned with you. Where do you start, and how do you start working through some of those little marbles? I'm going to call them marbles from now on.
I actually have these here. Look,
I know. I saw you. You
for
picked them
myself.
up. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. I've got pebbles and rocks. I can't show you those, but yeah, they'll be my pebbles and my rocks.
Perfect.
But amazing, Vanda, I absolutely love this. So for those of you listening or watching this video, by all means, take Vanda up on that MOT, the mind MOT. And I promise you, you're not going to be, how can I say, you are absolutely going to enjoy the process. Knowing Vanda and knowing what she does for everybody, you are going to love the process of what she takes you through. But then for those of you who feel that you just want to check out what Vanda says or what she does, follow her on social media, check out her website. And if you do want to have a conversation with her, please just connect with her, send her a message. I'm sure she'd be happy to have a chat with you, if anything. But oh my gosh, Vanda, thank you so much. Like I said, I knew this was going to be a good one, but for the first time, I'm just a little bit stunned because my brain is just, there is so much to compute here. I think I just need a lie down after this just to kind of let everything process.
Oh, well, I'm glad it made you think. This is my job, really, to make people think differently.
Brilliant.
And if that
Love it.
if that happened even just to one person yourself, then I'm happy.
Amazing. No, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And I know we've already had so many brilliant conversations before, many more to come. But I'm glad that we get to share this one with everybody who's listening and who's willing to explore a little bit about what's going on in their minds. So thank you so much for your time and being here.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. Take care. We'll speak soon.